Well, I was born in Chicago on the South Side, January 6th, 1948. And I have three brothers and three sisters that I grew up with on the South Side. White Sox fan, of course. And I went to Kelly High School. And during my 4 years at Kelly High School, for some reason, I don't know why, I was drawn into the Army ROTC. I enlisted in the Navy to try and stay out of Vietnam. And I went to Great Lakes Boot Camp and went aboard the USS Yosemite AD-19 out of Newport, Rhode Island. And I had a surgery when I was on board that ship on spine for a cyst on my spine. And I saw how they treated the hospital corpsman. So I volunteered to become a hospital corpsman. And they sent me back to Great Lakes for the school there. And it was one of the best ideas that I've ever had, was to become a Navy hospital corpsman, because it's helping people in more ways than anybody can imagine. I didn't even realize it, but the Marines used Navy hospital corpsmen as their medics in Vietnam. And once I graduated, the training I got was impeccable. I used to pass out at the sight of blood when I was a kid growing up, but for some reason I was drawn into it, and the schooling was unbelievable. It taught us everything. We were like nurses almost, with a few extra things that we could do in the military that nurses couldn't do. I got into the dispensary system, and I met a chief petty officer, and he liked me so much that he actually did me a favor. He did something that I didn't know anything about, but he attached me and a couple of other corpsmen to the fire department there as ambulance attendants. And actually, that's how I delivered one baby, was in the in the ambulance going to Great Lakes Naval Hospital. We didn't make it, and that was my first one. But it was unbelievable. We got actually treated the way firefighters were: 24 hours on, 48 hours off. That's when I met my wife at the USO in downtown Chicago with a friend of mine, Paul Henry. And I saw her walking across the dance floor with her girlfriend, and I told Paul Henry, I'm going to marry her. And that was on my first sight. That first time I saw her, I told Paul I was going to marry her, and I asked her to marry me on our second date. When I was in the hospital corps school in Chicago, well, at Great Lakes, that's when I got transferred to the 3rd Marine Division, and I had to go to Camp Pendleton for FMS Fleet Marine Force School, which is a reason we were supposed to get married in October of '69, and I got my orders in February to go to Camp Pendleton to go to Vietnam. And I told my wife, I says, we're going to get married because I wanted a good reason to come home. A good reason. She's the best reason I could have to do that. I'm proud of the fact that I was a Navy hospital corpsman with the Marines, and they treat us corpsmen with all the love and respect you could ask for. The things that stand out to me is my time in Vietnam. I have bad memories, but I have good ones too. The good ones far outweigh the bad ones that I had. I was only in 2 combat situations in the time I was there. I wasn't even there for a full year before we got pulled out and sent to Okinawa. I was wounded on August 7th, 1969. I was in Operation Idaho Canyon with the Bravo Company, well, not Bravo, Charlie Company. Oh, here we go again. Fox Company, Fox 2-3, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marine Division. I was a hospital corpsman with one of the platoons there, and we got hit with a battalion, at least that's what I was told, a battalion of North Vietnamese Army at the time, and I had to take care of the Marines that fought and got wounded and stuff. But my job was to keep as many names off that wall as possible. And I hope I did a good job, because as far as I know, I only lost one person. But I was wounded that day too, and I knew there were some Marines that were wounded that weren't going to be medevaced because they weren't that bad, but they needed somebody to stay there to take and clean their wounds and dress them and everything every day. So I stayed out there until they sent another hospital corpsman, which was 3 days before I was medevaced out to the USS Repos, because I wasn't letting them go without being taken care of. I had a grenade land a foot from my head and never go off. It was a dud. I was working on a Marine at that time, and it was, and I had to shoot a North Vietnamese Army guy who tried to assault me and the patient I was working on, so I had to use my .45 to kill somebody, which is still a problem for me, because my job as a hospital corpsman was to save lives, not to take them. And I still have problems to this day with that situation, with PTSD and everything. But I'll tell you, I wouldn't change anything that I've done.
Well, and I know the hat you're wearing references the Silver Star that you earned. And my understanding is that was for that very situation.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
The Silver Star, Purple Heart, and the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry. But if I had to do it all again, I'd still do it. I wouldn't change anything. It's made me a different person, just teaching me how to care for everybody, no matter what the situation is. I wish this whole society that we live in today would treat people the way that I've been learned, that I was taught to treat them, physically, emotionally, and mentally, whatever. We're all the same people. That's I was taught this in the military. It taught us how to be teamwork. We work together as a team. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what nationality you are. We're all one big family. And that's why to this day I call everybody that was in the military a brother. We're all brothers and sisters. And I swear I'd do it again if I could. Well, coming home was tough. When I got to California, I got off the plane and I got spit on and called a baby killer and everything, because of the demonstrations that were going on at that time, the anti-war demonstrations and everything. And I was frustrated because I was, like I said, I was a Navy hospital corpsman. I had delivered 3 babies in the time I was in the military. And they're calling me a baby killer. And it was frustrating, and it's part of my problems and everything, but I've learned to adjust to it. And it's been a help in keeping me to whom I am right now. I wasn't going to put my people, the people I know and even don't know, I wouldn't treat them the way that I was treated. And I swear to God, almost every Vietnam vet would probably say the same thing. I got released in July of 1970. I got out 3 months early. I was supposed to get out in October. And they gave me 3 months early. They released me from active duty. And we drove back home to Chicago. And I went right back to work for Eastman Kodak, because they said they would hold my position for me, and they did. they were going to start doing the Vietnam veterans flights out of Chicago I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but one of those 2 years. And him and I filled out the paperwork together, and his cousin, and we tried to get together with the three of us, which the honor flight did. But it was one of the most remarkable days that I can ever remember. The way it made me feel afterwards was unbelievable. I was so honored the way they treated us, the respect they gave us, and that makes you feel like this is the reason why you did what you did. There were 5 buses that we had, and they had police escorts, and we didn't have to stop for traffic lights or nothing. It was unbelievable the way that was all set up for us, and it made us feel so spectacular and respected again. And because when I came home from Vietnam, I was disrespected. They didn't treat us with any respect at all. So this was unbelievable the way it was worked out for us, and it's a good help for anybody with PTSD too. This would help in the treatment because it makes you feel like this is the reason you did what you did for our country. And I totally agree with that. Now, one of the most spectacular parts was on the flight back just before we got on ground back in Chicago. They came out with what they called mail call on the plane. And I believe everybody on the plane got a mail call. And it was unbelievable because of the emotions that it gave. My daughter's kids went to St. Ray's Catholic School in Joliet, Illinois, and the whole school, all the kids there in their classes wrote thank you notes to me for my service to the country, for what I did for them, so that they could live in this country the way it is now. And when we got off the plane, I was crying like a baby.
Yeah, I know one of the things you mentioned to me when you were in D.C., of course, visiting the various memorials is part of the day.
Right. And
you mentioned that your time at the Vietnam Wall was...
That was really tough for me. Like I said, my job in Vietnam was to keep as many names off of that wall as possible, and to see all the names that were on that wall being a corpsman tore me up. And my guardian had to take, I got about halfway through down the path there, and I can't remember his name, but he was spectacular. I'm terrible with names anyhow. But he was spectacular in the way he treated me and everything. And I told him I couldn't continue. I had to go get away from it because it was, the emotions it was tearing up in me was unbelievable. I don't like wars because people die. I understand why they have them. That doesn't mean I like it. But I would fight another war for my country to keep it as safe as it is today, as great as it is today. We are a great country, and we are honored that people want to come here. But what we need to do is teach our children to respect one another in our country, and respect everybody that works for our country. And thank you so much for inviting me here. God bless you, and God bless our country. Stay safe and stay healthy.
You too.
Thank you.